Hey everybody, welcome back to Let's Play Hearts of Iron 4 New Orders America. Let us continue on from where we last left off. So, we have sent volunteers over to the Philippines, which is fantastic for us because we don't like the Japanese. We don't want them to control any territory in Southeast Asia, and the more that we can control for our allies, the better things will be. Now, I will say, not related to this video at all, I hate summer. Does anybody else hate summer? Like, I'm just not built for it. It's only like 28 degrees, I want to say right now. It is that's too hot. That's still too hot for me. Which I think it's like 87 Fahrenheit, something like that. You'd be like, oh, I live in Tucson. It's fucking 102 over here. Shut up. Don't care. As long as you. Anyway, the new leaks. This morning, the press office of the New York Times, Chicago Tribune, Washington Post, San Francisco Chronicle, Boston Globe, and half a dozen other newspapers received the same anonymous package. Inside were a group of photocopies detailing how the Nixon campaign and the FBI conspired to wiretap political opponents during the 1960 election. Needless to say, the outrage from the National Progressive Pact was immediate and fierce. George Wallace took to national television this afternoon in an interview upon the first step of the Alabama Capitol, in which he looked to the cameras and called President Nixon a corrupt crook, and concluded with demands that he resign at once. The White House said the Republican-Democrat National Convention had clammed up for the time being, refusing to issue a statement to the press about the document's origin or veracity. While keeping their heads low and letting it blow over may have worked in the past with minor scandals, something as broad as this is simply too massive to ignore. The press, the public, and especially the National Progressive Pact will not tolerate Nixon silent for much longer. Okay, breaking the caches. This will give us we can send weapons to the British. Now that might be considered a crisis, which might put our political path kind of stuck, right, in our focuses. I think I'll probably open up a new path when we get to Watergate. But if we can get helping out a friend, we can at least maybe aid the British in some way. Choosing our SCOTUS nominee. Yeah, breaking weapons caches. At the moment, the Supreme Court is very conservative. Many, if both the media and Congress, are urging us to select a nominee who provides some ideological balance. The Supreme Court is ostensibly supposed to be nonpartisan, kept away from petty day-to-day politics. On the other hand, very few things in America are nonpartisan when you get right down to it. Pick a nominee who fits with our ideological outlook could ensure some real political victories down the line, yet, on the other hand, it could draw the ire of those who aren't staunch members of our voting base. So which option will we go with? Liberal nominee or a conservative one? Well, Nixon at this point, I'm sure he's thinking like, ah shit, I'm fucked. So he's probably going to put in a conservative option. So we're going to do that. It also kind of counterbalances all of the other choices we've made, where we kind of have tried to go a little bit more, I guess not really necessarily more liberal to support the NPP, but kind of allowing them to flourish maybe is the right word. But either way, let's build some new schools. Texas and California, sure, why not? Congratulations to them for some new education. And what do we have in our foreign policy right now? We have 1 point that we can... I mean, it looks like we're actually doing pretty well. We have 3 nodes right now. Let's apply nodes to you. Do not do this. I think the air weapon node counts as this point, because I think that's what screwed us over before, maybe? Now it says we have 1 point, so maybe that's not true. I don't know. Initiate the airlift. Get some free exiles. This requires 25 political power. Why can I not do this? We have at least 50% investment. We control paths around this node. We need more investment. We're only 29%. That doesn't seem good at all. There's actually just a chunk missing here. Okay. Is there a way we can launch a local mutiny? We don't have enough strength in any of these nodes, I believe. What about you? 30%, 17, 20, 30, 20, 0. Then I guess we'll just, due to the conflict escalation, Germany has solid evidence of our involvement and can take away actions from us. Oh, so that's why. Because Germany can just remove a point away from us. That's crazy. That's crazy. Despite many calls from a moderate faction to restore the more balanced state of affairs in the Supreme Court, we've chosen to keep the current arrangement as they are. While they have not pushed the stack to court any further our way than it is already, the court will remain in its present state, which might some way call unbalanced. So this is all voters will tend more liberal on the issues of domestic policy for 20 weeks. We lost city political power. Thank you. I appreciate that. John Friedman's entire life had been leading up to this point. Everything that he's done, everything that he's learned, everyone had known, and it all led to this moment. To this location, 10:27 a.m., June 15th, 1963, Langley, Virginia. He had no reason to be nervous. He was everything they were looking for. Graduated from George Mason University with honors, almost fluent in German, good with people. His list of achievements went on and on. And yet, he could feel the beads of sweat make their way down his back and as he entered the building. What if they say no? What if everything he had done for most of his life was for nothing? What if his heart was shattered like glass? He ignored these questions as he pressed on. Past the front desk with the pretty receptionist, his heart pounded as he approached the room that he was told to go to. He could barely hear his own hand rapping against the wooden door. "Come in," came a response. He opened the door and sat down. Across from him was a man who held his heart in his hands. They made eye contact, and the other man smiled and began. "Son, what makes you think you're a good fit for us?" John, Jacob had a habit of rambling, of letting words spill out in desperate attempt to make his thoughts make sense. With effort, he had trained himself to stem the flow of words. In careful, calculated sentences, Jacob sold himself to the man. He answered his questions and responded back with his thoughts, ignoring the fear that lurked in the back of his mind. For a moment, there was silence. Then the man smiled and reached out his hand. "Welcome to the CIA, son." Does that give me, say, 4 agents here? There we go. We'll begin we'll basically open up a slot for that boy. Offer aid from West Point, escalate the war. So alienate the Hucks in the north, preventing us from escalating. See, that's so we can send more volunteers. And honestly, I don't think we need to do that. Like, we're kind of already in a pretty good shape. I mean, the Filipinos on their own are able to push these guys back, even without my division actually even being there. So I'm not too worried about greater issues. 1970. We'll go with the artillery here. Because you are all encircled? 800 defense? I mean, okay, I will say that's pretty good. You're kind of stuck on this island for now. We can't send any volunteers to the socialist in the north, which, I mean, I guess makes sense. But I can't imagine the Japanese here have much of a hold, right? Like, let's take a look at this. Current conflicts. We are looking at Philippines. They are at 47%. Really? What do they control? They still control Manila. It's just hard to tell. I thought that was they're basically like very similar reds. It's more of like a pink, but close enough colors that it's kind of hard to tell. So I think if Manila falls, that'll basically be the end of the Second Republic. So if that would mean for us, actually, it makes more sense for our troops to be here instead. So we can push our way to this island, push our way onto the North Island. I don't know the name of Filipino islands. And then take Manila. I think that just makes the most sense. We'll try our damnedest. How's air superiority looking, by the way? Because we have our bombers on the islands. We're the only one with any air superiority here. And you have full... Yeah, I mean, you can fly pretty far. 42, 63. We got our support from our allies over here as well, which is nice. 34 command power. 10 days until your organization is going to lower a little bit. So I guess we want to stay at 2 in order to make sure that Germany can't fuck us over. But, I mean, we're capturing, like, most of the islands, right? The rebellion is actually going very, very well. I don't know what we can do, though, to kind of increase our investment here. Like, it's just, like, our contribution is grand. It's going great. I mean, Japanese apparently just haven't done shit. I guess Japan doesn't care at all. Apply 0. Send 5 equipment to the states that Japan and Madagascar can pull from. So Japan can pull from these. But does Japan actually have any volunteers here? They do. So the Japanese are able to send units. We're not. But, again, we have a lot more influence in the 1.5 years. I mean, 65, honestly, is not too far ahead of time. And technology, I'll be honest, a New Order doesn't really matter so much. Follow the chief executive Suzuki in I think it's in one of the small Chinese provinces. We don't really care too much about that. Port will increase. Balance the budget. Sure. No, I need a political power right now to do some operations in other places. We're not going to worry about that right now. And unfortunately, we're kind of in a stalemate situation in Dominica. It's not Dominica. I know Dominica's an island, but the Dominican Republic. For the first time since information in the wiretaps leaked to the press, President Nixon has called the press conference in the ballroom at Washington's Mayflower Hotel. The press, obviously eager to hear his comments on the scandal, arrive in droves. The questions, many of them focused on the wiretaps, were biting and intrusive, but Nixon handled them with the skill of a master debater. He danced around the questions with such grace that plenty of people seemed to overlook that he never actually gave a direct answer at all. He changed topic, he spun yarns, he equivocated, but even all of his skills could not stop the question of wiretaps from coming up again and again. Finally, he decided to confront one reporter's question to what extent would you say that you cooperate with the federal investigation into the possibility of a cover-up? After a lengthy non-answer on the values of liberty and egalitarianism, he concluded with, I will cooperate and, in fact, welcome this sort of investigation. I've never attempted to cover up the crime or obstruct justice because I am I've committed no crimes to cover up. Whether this investigation will tell the American people what they need to know, whether or not their president is a crook, well, I am not a crook. I don't know how to do like the jowl thing, so I'm not even going to attempt it. Okay, mutinies come to an end. Close that again. We don't really care too much what's happening in Russia to an extreme extent. Which one of you has to do with yes. We'll get you guys going here. Operation for you. Increase support for 15 million. Sounds fine. And I don't think we need to worry about anyone else right now. I think we're good if we're... I mean, if we can click the button, we might as well click the button, right? To stabilize Japan again. I know we failed the first time, but maybe second time's the charm. Look at the capital, man. Is there anything we can actually do for you? Like, we can't send volunteers. We don't have any decisions on this to support you anymore. So I think it'll just go until it's over. Okay, Germany has technically conquered the non-aligned provinces, which I don't think matter at all. They've recaptured Majunga. We have 2 actions that we can perform. Tighten information controls. Supply the AKFM. So increase Japan's factions by 1%. Tighten information control. Operation swing set. We need 75% I need more investments. Because we're now on stage 3. Shell company resource contacts. This will increase our investment by 8%. Sure, let's shell resource contacts here. I don't know if it matters where we're doing this one necessarily. Import topographers. Does not have modifier base of operations. And then you cost us a point. You cost us a point. You would cost us a point as well. And if we hit 3, then that's kind of game for Malaysia. And I guess I don't know if it means that the rebellion immediately fails, but I'm assuming it means that Japan basically immediately wins. Which is absolutely not what we're looking for. 37. I just want Manila, man. Would you kindly provide it to me? We have Japanese troops over here. You're worth how much is Manila worth? It's worth 30. Yeah, so like we need that city. Nothing else is gonna work. Definitely not tabloid news. As such, the fundamental process of governance were discarded and the rule of law was subverted. The paper read. Joe's work life had become immensely hectic, almost to the point of absurdity. His private life had begun to reflect that. Sitting at home enjoying a solitary moment of calm away from work and with his family, Joe had taken the time to read his copy of the Washington Post. Even away from work, Joe could not escape it. With a defeated sigh, Joe walked to his landline and dialed Andy's personal number. This is Andy, the voice in the line muttered. This is another journalist I'm hanging up. Joe felt a pang of guilt. Andy spoke to the whole sentence while cussing. The man must have been truly defeated. Andy, it's Joe. I'm calling to say that I'm sorry. The land stayed silent a while. Joe hadn't thought of anything to say, but he wasn't sure how to respond. Thanks, Andy said. But it still cost me my fucking job. Do you still have the Washington Post subscription, Joe? Joe grunted to the affirmative. And what do you tell me this wouldn't be, Joe? Andy asked. Half-assed. Joe sighed. That it wouldn't be front page on the Washington Post, and it is. And he let out a light chuckle. I know it wasn't your fault. Nobody could cover up all of that, even with the team we had. Still, thanks for humoring me. Anytime, Andy. This is a shit show, isn't it? Americans giving cast to the Japanese. I know there's a lot more to that, but since then, since when would the Post give us a break? Andy finished. The two men chuckled at a joke. One half part serious, another part sad that it was over for at least half of them. Falling apart. So I guess he shouldn't have gotten that second strike. That's entirely on me, I will admit that. Yeah, there's something over here we can do. So we'll meet with Cassin, who is the president of the Free French. And is this giving us more options to intervene in Britain? Limestone. Yes, once we're done our other operation here. The case... Oh. Okay. The case for supporting the Free State of Magadan. In the news, controversial op-eds for Commentary Magazine, Georgetown professor and political analyst Joan Kirkpatrick are in favor of United States aid to the Free State of Magadan in Mekhala-Motovsky. While the Free State of Magadan may at first appear to be an authoritarian nation, it provides the best option in the ruined ashes of the what was once Russian Soviet Union. Contrary to the National Socialist-esque all-Russian government of Emir and the totalitarian communist president of the Supreme Soviet, the Free State of Magadan has a powerful democratic institutions and a possibility for reform, the article reads. Kirkpatrick describes Vodz Mikhail Matovsky as a traditional style of ruler of semi-traditional society, alluding to the leaders aligned and previously self-proclaimed fascism. However, the existence of heavily reformist elements, mainly men such as Nikolai Peltin, in Makovsky's government, led Kirkpatrick to proclaim that the possibility of a democratic reform is not simply likely, but assured. Already, the Vodz has promised to put into law an updated Bill of Rights, promising basic civil liberties to the people of Magadan, although how far this will go, it still remains to be seen. Magadan is positioned in an incredibly important part of Siberia, Kirkpatrick argues. Its access to the North Pacific makes it a possible center of trade, and its proximity to China, Manchuria, and Japan allows the nation, and potentially the United States, to establish control over the rest of Eastern Siberia, or the rest of Russia. The diplomatic, tactical, and military benefit would give the United States is difficult to overstate. We should provide them the aid so they desperately want. This op-ed is not without its critics, many referring to it as a naked call to support fascists, or once again putting a policy over the people. Commentary Magazine has received a fair share of angry letters, writing that Jean Kirkpatrick remains one of the most controversial contributors. The Nightly News. The situation has deteriorated, thought White House Chief of Staff H.R. Halden. Over the course of a few weeks, the story of Madagascar has gone from the back pages of third-rate newspapers to international sections of major papers in the Nightly News. Haldeman stared back at his boss's head as Cronkite intoned in the allegations of illegal shipments. This isn't good, Bob, said the president. The press will fuck me for this. They'll bend me over to the table and fuck me like an old whore. Haldeman waited in silence. Nixon changed the channel to ABC and grunted approvingly of the story of a protest in Quebec. At least Cochran's still giving us a good shake. The broadcast continued. Nixon changed the channel again. A blonde woman presented dish soap to the camera. Sir, do you want me to tell Klein to make another statement? The president waved his hand dismissively. No, the bastard would find some way to put his foot in his mouth. I don't need to clean up any more messes. The screen flashed with a smile of a young girl. Get Sapphire. Tell him I want to make a speech in the morning. Say, well, the allegations are troubling, and that we full support the nonpartisan FBI probe to get the people's answers. I maybe mention my work in the whole his thing, and then that'll be how a picnic in comparison. Some bullshit like that. Of course, Mr. President, any messages you'd like me to deliver? Tell the assholes at the state to bury this thing. I don't want any more stories reaching the press. So it seems like I've been very bad at the whole dealing with Madagascar situation. I don't know why they hate Madagascar so much. Why they love me sending troops to the Philippines, but the idea of them sending troops to Madagascar is some like major faux pas. 5 divisions here. Like, what's your defense at? 300? I mean, that's pretty good. I'm not going to deny that. I want to draw a front line. Is this one province? No, it's technically a separate province. We can move our troops maybe down at this island chain. There's a victory point down there. There's also a port. And these units are much weaker than the ones that are around Manila, so I think this makes sense. Okay, operation's been successful. And I think that was the one for sowing dissent in Japan. Article 2, Section 4. When he first arrived in the United States House of Representatives almost 2 years ago, National Party Representative John B. Anderson was talked a lot about integrity. While so many men in Illinois were willing to sacrifice their principles to the democratic machines that control the state, Anderson has vowed to remain true, to remain decent, and to remain honest. He would speak truth to the powerful, which is why he found himself now huddled in the back room of a restaurant on the outskirts of D.C., surrounded by a ragtag group of young congressmen from all across the political spectrum. So, he said lamely, Nixon. Nixon indeed, said Democratic Congressman Mo Udall. Even sitting, he towered over the other representatives. I know we all have our disagreements, but I think we'd all agree that what's emerged from Madagascar is a disgrace. American dollars are financing the same men who attacked at us at Pearl Harbor. There was a murmur of angry voices. Mo's right, Anderson. What we need now is action. Real action. No empty speeches, no censure, the real action. He looked conspiratorial around the room, aware of the magnitude of what he was about to say. We need to start drafting articles of impeachment. More murmuring. Udall cast his unlikely allies a look. Most of us here are freshman representatives, men with junior positions on our committees, and even if that is enough to start moving things forward. If we can build a movement in Congress, if we can make the outcry loud enough, we can force an investigation and get rid of the most crooked president in our nation's history. Unlikely allies in an unlikely conspiracy. I still think it makes sense. Like, oh, they're Japanese. Oh, we're giving money to them. It's a means to an end, right? People don't understand realpolitik. I do. Mr. Nixon understands. We had no points here. Okay, so yeah, we don't want to do anything. The Germans took away our point at some point. And then, yeah, you guys are looking good. But I will say that for the time being, it's going to be a good time for us to end this episode for today. So thanks for watching. If you enjoyed, thumbs up. Not joking, thumbs down. You want to see more, subscribe, and goodbye.